Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video here. So I want to talk about House of the Dragon. This is a show I'm definitely very excited for. If you are new here, and I mean new here as in like the last year or two, or I guess however long it's been since Game of Thrones stopped airing. But yeah, Game of Thrones was a show that I covered a lot. Like I covered Game of Thrones a lot. Obviously, I covered The Walking Dead quite a bit here on the channel, but I covered Game of Thrones quite a bit. Like it was pretty much, I think, the only thing I covered while it was on. I didn't even cover any Walking Dead stuff. So obviously this year I think things will be a little bit different because we do have Tales of the Walking Dead, which I'm expecting to air around the same time. So I will do some videos for that and whatnot. But House of the Dragon is a show I am absolutely excited for. I really cannot wait. I mean, the Dance of the Dragon story is something that I've been wanting to see live on screen for quite a while, and it seems like we're actually going to be getting that. So obviously, before we go any further, I mean, I can't really warn you for anything really spoilery anyways, because we haven't watched anything. But, in terms of the backstory and the books and stuff, I'm going to try to be not that spoilery in breaking down this trailer. I'm going to set up a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, but I'm not going to talk about things like the fates of characters, this and that. I'll never really get into that because there's really no point. That would be spoiling the show. And so there's no point in that. So what I'm going to do is just sort of talk about what we see here in the trailer and just sort of relate it to the overall story. So make sure to be a subscriber if you do want more House of the Dragon content like this. I do think this show is likely going to be like a 5 to 7 or even 8 season show. I don't see it ending after like season 2 or 3. For sure, like 5, I could even see it going to 7 or 8. It really depends on the overall story, and we'll get into that right away. A lot of this trailer is really just setting up a lot of the overall story here, for House of the Dragon and what this actual show is actually going to be about here. And obviously that has to do with the Iron Throne and wanting to take the Iron Throne, just a lot like Game of Thrones. And I imagine that's one of the things, when they were trying to figure out the spinoffs to do for Game of Thrones, like, how do they do a Game of Thrones spinoff that's going to be exciting? And the most exciting aspect to Game of Thrones was just who was going to get the throne. And I think that's sort of why they went with something like this. It makes sense because, besides the Game of Thrones story, this story is also very exciting here. We do see a lot of flashback scenes. We actually see a scene here. It looks like that's Rhaenyra. And again, they're going to be doing flashback scenes. So we do have like older and younger versions of the characters. Like this image right here is of like the older Rhaenyra, and then this one is of the younger one. We also have an older Alicent and then a younger Alicent. So it seems like in this shot, though, we do have Rhaenyra. It looks like she's at Dragonstone at this point. We also see a shot of Daemon Targaryen, which is, he's going to be a really fun character. He's actually the younger brother to the king. The king is Viserys the First. He's kind of like a rebel, I would say. I feel like he kind of wants the throne for himself, but he doesn't really follow, he's a rebel in a sense. He's gone rogue a lot. Like he's that type of character. Again, he's going to be a really fun character to have on the show. And then we see Sir Otto Hightower here. He's the Hand of the King. He's been the Hand of the King for a really long time. I think he was actually Hand of the King to the king before Viserys, which I believe his name was Daenerys or whatever. I can't remember. I'll have to do a lot more research once the show actually starts and I'm reviewing it all the time and breaking down trailers and stuff because, there's a lot here. But yeah, he is the Hand of the King here, and I imagine this story here has to do, and again, I'm not going to get too much into spoilers here, but we do see the shot here, and I imagine this has to do with the fact that Daemon or Daemon Targaryen has this egg here, which he was using for his own personal reasons. I believe he was trying to legitimize, I think it might have been his son or something like that, or it was somebody, and make them a dragon rider, but I think King Viserys has had, enough of that and wanted the egg back. And so I think he's given the egg back here to the Hand of the King. Again, I'm going to have to do reread some stuff here because I remember some things, but I don't remember everything. But yeah, and then we see this shot here of Corlys Velaryon. He's actually or he's also known as the Sea Snake. We also see a shot of Bormund Baratheon, who is a predecessor, obviously, to Robert Baratheon. And then we see the younger version of Rhaenyra, where she's going to become, the heir. As soon as Viserys dies, she's the next in line for the throne. And so it was that's basically the overall story here, right? Like, again, we're gonna get a lot of flashback scenes like this, and the whole story is a Targaryen civil war that occurred way before, the main series began with Game of Thrones. And the two main characters, most likely, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of other bigger characters as well, but the two characters, the two that represent each side, is going to be Rhaenyra and Alicent. And both characters want the throne for their own reasons. Rhaenyra, like I said, she's the daughter of King Viserys, and after her father dies, she believes, and it's because she's the heir, she was literally named the heir to the throne, that she should be in line for the throne. And that's what I mean. I think that's why we're going to see a lot of backstory here, because Rhaenyra and Alicent were actually friends. They were very close when they were younger. It's just that as soon as they got a lot older, that, there was a rift there. And then things just got really bad as soon as, Viserys died. And then I guess there were some issues there when Alicent married her father and then gave birth to a son. And that, in Rhaenyra's eyes kind of threatened her claim, but it shouldn't have, because she was already named the heir. But obviously Alicent is going to argue, well, no, because the next in line for the throne has to be their, I guess a son. And that's definitely going to be an issue here, right? And that's really the overall question here, is like, who's really in line for the throne? Is it Rhaenyra, who was literally named the heir, or is it Alicent, who gave birth to King Viserys' son, Prince Aegon? And so that's basically why it overall starts. And you'll notice a lot of people referring to them as either the Greens or the Blacks, and that's basically how they refer to each side, right? To each faction. So if you supported Rhaenyra and her claim, you were a part of the Blacks. If you supported Alicent, then you were a part of the Greens. And this was all because they just wore those colors. I think it was at a tourney that was held in King's Landing. Alicent wore green and Rhaenyra wore black. So if you hear people referring to them as that, like, that's the reference there. And like I said, I do think this show is going to last many, many seasons. And it just seems like it, because we're getting a lot of these detailed flashbacks of the overall story. And, a lot of the stuff between Alicent and Rhaenyra, I think is going to be explored as well. They were very close beforehand. They were friends. And then Alicent married her father, and they had a son. And obviously Rhaenyra wants to be the next in line for the throne. She wants to be, trust me, if you don't know anything about the Dance of the Dragon story, it gets really crazy. It gets really nuts. And I'm really excited for it. I think season 1 is really going to be setting up a lot of, I guess, issues between Alicent and Rhaenyra, and a lot of the backstory there between just what the state of the world is like as well, right? And then I kind of see, I'm not sure when King Viserys is going to die, but it's going to happen at some point in season 1. And then, yeah, from there it gets really nuts. But that's overall the sort of story here. I think it's going to be a lot like Game of Thrones season 1, where, it built up a lot of the world. It built up what the state of King's Landing and just Westeros in general was like. And then it built up to Ned Stark's death, right? Which really threw everything into chaos. And then basically the Game of Thrones began, right? And that's kind of how I see this going. I don't really see this going too differently, though the context of a lot of it is so different, because, again, it's a Targaryen civil war. And there's going to be a lot of issues here. There's going to be a lot of things that come up, and this trailer looks absolutely amazing. Honestly, like, I'm really, really excited to watch this show. I do think this show is going to be really good. I mean, Daemon Targaryen looks like a really great character. We do see a lot of shots here of, I believe this is actually older Rhaenyra here, and they're in Dragonstone, and this is like the big map table. We've also seen this in Game of Thrones as well, right? Like, this is the big map of all of Westeros or whatever. So it looks like they're like planning something here. Are they like planning a war? Are they planning to attack a certain place? I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I really like how the throne looks different too. I think that's kind of cool. Like, the throne actually looks pretty different. There's a lot of melted swords just sort of on the side of it going all the way around. And I don't remember if that was the case. Like, obviously I know in the books, like, the throne looks really insane. Like, like the show, like the throne on Game of Thrones was definitely very tame compared to the actual throne in the books. But I don't remember if the throne, even in the books, say, like, by the time we got to the Game of Thrones time period, if it looked different than it did during this time period, right? Like, I don't know if they're just sort of changing it on the show here, but yeah, definitely looks really cool. There is actually a shot here, and this is something that just jogged my memory. We actually do have Rhaenyra and Daemon Targaryen, and I believe they actually get married. I'm pretty sure that's what happens, and I think Rhaenyra thinks that's going to strengthen her claim to the throne, because, if she marries Daemon is the younger brother of Viserys. Well, I mean, after he dies, like, it just kind of makes sense that they should be, next in line for the throne. But yeah, then we just get a lot of cool shots. We actually do see Alicent holding I actually think this is Littlefinger's dagger. Looks like it. And then we get the dragon at the end here. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of dragons in this. Like, in Game of Thrones, really up until, I don't know what season that was, 4 or 5, like, oh no, it was season 1, I'm pretty sure, at the end, or season 2, whatever the hell it was. Dragons were like a myth. And even then, we only got like the 3 dragons, right? It's going to be very different here. During this time period, there are a lot of dragons. And so I really wonder how it's going to work in terms of the budget and stuff like that. But obviously, like, they have it all worked out and stuff. But yeah, I am very, very excited. I'm very excited for the show. I think this show is going to be really great. So I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.